Be Black Anglo-Saxon. Welcome to another episode of From the Hood to the Hill. Can you please hit the like button, share, subscribe? I would appreciate it. Today we are going to be talking about Jay-Z, Pooh Shiesty, and inner city youth and how all of those things kind of correlate and connect. Because we are having conversations around all three different things right now, and they all feed off each other. And I'm going to start off with the Jay-Z conversation because he made some comments that I think are really relevant as it relates to how our elders may interpret or perceive the youth and how they interact or don't interact with the ecosystem as a whole. In that GQ interview, Jay-Z talked about the fact that he, in that era specifically, did not bother women and kids, and that there were rules and that there was order and that women and kids were off the table. And for what it's worth, that's false. Because what Jay-Z in this specific case has to understand, and I want people to be able to separate the person from the avatar, because I'm using Jay-Z as an avatar, but I really want us to understand the systems and the structures as they are and not really hone in on the person and understand that he is being used, because I can plop in any particular person or figure in this specific moment in time, but y'all know who Jay-Z is, we know his story, etc. Right? Now, he is the same individual who sold dope to his own mother. With that being said, you have to understand, last time I checked, your mama is a woman, right? Two, just because you are not aware or do not understand the consequences or the blowback or the residuals of the things that you have participated in does not mean those things don't exist. And what I mean by that is Jay-Z used his story, used his comeuppance, and became a beacon of hope, and became a beacon of making it, became a beacon of being self-made in a lot of ways. And a lot of people emulated what Jay-Z and a lot of people who came out of that era did to try to be the next mogul, to try to be the next, I'm gonna flip a couple birds, flip a couple words, and then I'm gonna be on top and I'm gonna have this money and I'm gonna move it around. But the problem is that the reality is that there is an anomaly. And that is what I meant. And this is what I mean when I talk about the Black ego. Because fast forward to now, Jay-Z is telling people, and a lot of elders do this when they talk about, the youth being lazy, the youth being undisciplined, etc., not understanding that, sir, you are, and you all are the generation who caused a lot of the ills. Because as a person who is 35, I grew up in post-war, Cold War debris when it comes to the after effects of the crack cocaine era and how that thing mapped out and how it all played and came into what we see today. Because y'all were the same ones who maybe you didn't beat women, but you did sell drugs to them. And you also, for a lot of people, y'all was having, the sexes with these actual ladies and produced them bastard babies. And we don't have that conversation enough, because also on top of them being bastard babies, a lot of them had deficiencies based on and related to how and what they were consuming while they were pregnant and being in the environments that they were in while they were pregnant. Now, what I will say and what I will give credence to is that the environment was created. So if you watching this from the space of not being in the Black community or particularly not understanding the dynamics, I need everybody watching to understand that our environment was curated. Our environment was intentional. It was built off of policy decisions and built off of tyranny as it relates to the Black community and how it was meant to undermine. So you had Nixon, you had Reagan, you had all of these different figures come after we get civil rights or at the comeuppance of it. We see a strong, huge effort from the government to intentionally create this environment. And that's what I mean by the Black ego. It is the Black ego that says and ignores the intentionality that has taken place to put us in the quote unquote game that we insist on playing. Because again, Jay-Z himself, for as great as he is, for as intelligent as he is, doesn't understand social planning, central planning, politics, and all of these different things that go into the environment, and not only the environment, but the timing and the opportunity that he was able to take advantage of that does not exist in this current moment in time. Now, Jay-Z also spoke to in that interview a very specific thing where he talks about, you know, I don't necessarily take advantage of anybody. I don't do any of those things. I only find the ripple or the wrinkle in the system, right? And the argument, right or wrong, because here we don't talk about right or wrong. We understand that certain things can be right or wrong based on your own do as thou wilt philosophy, because a lot of people have a problem with this. So I tend to focus on how does it work? What's the cost associated with it? So he doesn't take advantage of people. He just sells people drugs and he gives people the opportunity and deals so that he can extract from those deals the actual benefits from them. And chief among the ripple effects is the effect of galvanizing, weaponizing the social capital and culture of Black people, selling it back to white people, and then being able to rinse and repeat that same process over and over. Again, right or wrong, you can have that own debate, but how does it work? How does it function in this ecosystem that Jay-Z is talking about, that our elders are talking about, and how we get here with the youth acting in the way that they act? Pooh Shiesty, everybody is familiar with the situation that happened with Gucci Man. And I'm going to talk about it and bring it in because apparently this is the type of discussions and these are the topics that people chase within our community at scale. So everybody is on one or two sides. They are unfortunately on the side of the Pooh Shiesty in, in the terms that he robbed and kidnap Gucci Man based on the legal precedent. And you have other people who are having conversations around this is why you can't support the youth. And this is why, this thing is out of control as it relates to being able to come into these spaces and things get chaotic, right? Now, Pooh Shiesty, my generation and younger, have all been bred by the same philosophy of kill or be killed, politic or be politicked. I'm from Washington, D.C. That was bred in me. That's what I've heard. So when you hold and you embrace that framework, that is the same framework of play the game. It is what it is. Let it be, right? That's how we have been operating, and that's what has been preached into the youth by any means necessary. Chase the bag culture, all of these different things that have taken place and transpired, and here we are. So am I surprised by what Pooh Shiesty did? Absolutely not. Because y'all continue, and this is why I say you must interrogate your isms, because people will say that, no, what we meant was you have to be, better. You have to strive. You have to build. You have to do and operate in all of these ways to be a righteous man and get it the righteous way. But that's not what you said. You said chase the bag. And then you have to layer on top of that the society top down is bully culture. This is the Wild Wild West. So when you see a Pooh Shiesty do what he does, you have to take into consideration that we have and continue to tell these youth do what is necessary to win. Winning is the only thing that matters. And there is no nuance that is given to the youth and even to the generations of past. Because for the conversation being had about inner city youth in Washington, D.C., and how reckless they are, we're not going to sit here and act like we didn't have shootings and stuff at the Mass Chef. We're not going to sit here and act like the Go-Go's wasn't turned up to the 1,000 max. We're not going to act like Hood Beast wasn't Hood Beast. And we're not going to act like that y'all generation was the murder capital. We're not going to act like people wasn't getting crushed over Jordans, wasn't getting crushed over Eddie Bowers, wasn't getting crushed over North Faces, wasn't getting crushed over Averex coats, wasn't getting crushed over 8-ball jackets. The list is very long. So we're not going to sit here and act as if this is something new. And if we're really being honest, it's nowhere near in comparison, even though they lack guidance. And the question that we have to ask ourselves is, why do they lack guidance? And I know the elders aren't going to like hearing this, but the reason why the youth is so out of control is because there has been no guidance for a multitude of generations. I can speak growing up in DC. You go to DCPS, you getting told you ain't nothing. Your parents got to work, whatever they doing, you don't got no, again, they may say that they love you, but the action is not there. You got to understand that the society and the things that are being said, the action is not there. Y'all keep doubling down on the same things that has brought us here and want to profess that you care when the things don't match. Because if what has brought us here has brought us despair, then why would I think you care if you continue to do the same? And then on top of that, there is no channel of communication. There is only a channel of communication if you acquiesce. And we see that throughout the whole system, whether it be in a professional environment, whether it be in a lot of people's personal relationships. People do not want to deal with and tolerate people who have any critique or any difference of opinion or stance or position where it actually matters and means something. I'm not talking about you care about a different color or you got a different favorite sports team. Y'all love that type of tomfoolery. I'm talking about the guts. I'm talking about the shared values, the difference of value systems, where some people believe it's okay to lie because it's a part of the game. Some people believe it's okay to go to that island because it's a part of the game. But you all want to double back around. Y'all have told us, y'all have told the youth, because they hear and see everything that is happening. They have 20 times more exposure than we did, than I did. So for all of the do as I say, not as I do, they seeing a lot more of what y'all do. So yes, a Pooh Shiesty, a youth, they crashing out. Because on top of it, they don't see a future in the world that cares about them. Especially if we talking about Black inner city youth. The teachers don't love them. Their parents don't love them in a lot of cases. And like I said again, you can say that you love, but a lot of y'all ain't been loved and don't know what love is. So you think you love, but you really not. It's a lot of neglect going on. You may not be beating your kid, you may not be physically harming them, but it's a lot of emotional damage going on. It's a lot of verbal assault going on. And we're not going to sit here and act like it. So when we have these outbursts, let's keep it in context and keep it in frame and understand that, two, these are just kids because we cannot act like we weren't kids. And then understand that the Jay-Z's of the world have paved the way and reinforced the narrative that allowed policies to come on the back end and further gut our communities and gut and jail our men based on the actions and based on the image that they have portrayed. Is it right or wrong? That's not really the question that I'm going at. Whether it was right or wrong, it was weaponized against us. Was it or was it not? That image was weaponized against the collective. And then he made more money on top of it. So again, when I see a Pooh Shiesty do what he did to Gucci Mane, though he has changed his life around and have tried and is trying to give people opportunities, you all put that spirit into the youth through your music, through your lifestyle. People look up to these people, the trap music, the drill music, the gangster rap. I love me a 3 6 Mafia. I should have never been listening to it as a kid. I love me a Gucci Mane. I should have never been listening to it as a kid. You got the Chief Keefs, y'all smoking on this, smoking on that, and y'all know what that means. But again, here we are because of Black ego, because the game that everybody insists on playing, as I continue to say, feeds into another game that was created for us to play. Jay-Z is in an environment that was curated to be the way that it is so that people can benefit off of the anomalies that strive out of those communities, as well as the people who get caught up in the drudgery of the community, and they can be weaponized on both ends because the quote unquote people who slipped up and caught 3 strikes get used and weaponized just as much as the strivers do, as the people who make it out. Because our story gets used against the community in a way where they say, well, if this person made it out, you need to figure out a way to make it out. When you look at the statistics and you look at the numbers, we are anomalies. It's not the rule. And we are anomalies as a result of the game that's being played. We are supposed to be anomalies. There is never supposed to be a collective root or a collective uplift that forms a structure that can actually have full autonomy and challenge power. But it is the Black ego and gentlemen like Jay-Z, who will in one breath say that he doesn't take advantage of people, but then also talk about how he is a staunch capitalist when capitalism at its core is exploiting people, things, environments, supply chains, manufacturing chains, all different kinds of things. You got to figure out how to disrupt something. Even when you look at your greatest quote unquote innovators, when we look at the railroad, it was a disruption. It was a change in how transport was already taking place. When you look at Steve Jobs, it was a disruption in how we were using technology. When you look at Ford, it was a disruption in how we lived our daily lives. The innovation was disruption. And that's important to understand when we continue to move forward because we have to remove our egos from it and not continue to say, well, I'm going to just work hard. Working hard is going to get there when we know that working hard is not the full battle. Because if it were solely about working hard, I'm here to tell you, I know a ton of people who would have been even further than me in my life because they smarter than me, they got better grades than me in school, but I understood what it was really about. It had nothing to do with the tomfoolery that we was learning. I learned early that this was all social experimentation and it's more about the optics and the aesthetics. When people used to come to me and tell me that, oh, talk this way, look this way, walk this way, that's aesthetics. I'm not, you're not talking about anything that has any intrinsic value because I could be a moron and do all of those things. And that matters. Why? Because the Pooh Shiesties and the kids of the world are operating on aesthetics. There is no substance. We live in a society right now where it's the disinformation age because you all have been bombarded and we have been bombarded with so much information that you have never been taught how to synthesize the information. You've never been taught how to metabolize the information. And I know most people don't because I know what it means to metabolize it. It takes a certain level of solace. It takes time. It takes a certain level of isolation. And people are moving way too fast. People are moving at a pace that doesn't allow you to metabolize information in the way that is necessary to integrate it into your thought patterns to develop your own ideas. These people are moving from slide deck to slide deck. And how does that go back into the conversation about a Jay-Z and a Pooh Shiesty and inner city youth? Well, why? How? Because on one hand, you have the elders telling us that we're not working hard enough. You got the elders saying that, oh, y'all got it better than we do. But it's because they don't understand the full spectrum of what's happening because they are being fed CNN. Because they don't understand the world that they have operated in, they created in a lot of ways because they have given us and we have to live in the fumes of their failures because they kicked the can down the road. So we live in the debt crisis. We live in all of these different spaces and areas that look nice aesthetically, but the way that we have to go about acquiring it and operate in the ecosystem to even obtain it is that much harder. They were buying houses at $90,000. They were able to, again, he could do what he did in terms of flipping the birds because he was able to take advantage of a market and an environment where the dollar went more. There wasn't as much surveillance because let's be honest, selling drugs is not really even a lucrative thing anymore. And then music wasn't gutted by the streaming services and industry. And so it was a whole enterprise that existed that doesn't exist in the same way now. So then he had to pillage and give people the same booty deals that he got and operate in it under the guise of it is what it is. You got to do what you got to do to get where you want to go. That's all fine and well until you are the person getting your neck stepped on. It's all fine and well until you are the person who has to bury somebody in your family because of some reckless crash out. That is all fine and well until it's your kid in the street that don't got services because we continue to spend money and put resources elsewhere that don't make sense. And we continue to move at such a pace that doesn't allow us. Because one of the things that can be done simply is trying to restore balance and homeostasis in terms of how we move and navigate. Because the real core of the problem is that parents have to work. You can't raise kids in this environment because you gotta the effort and the output has to increase to such an extent. You can have the greatest intentions, but daddy gotta work, mama gotta work. So you still end up becoming a board of the state. Because you got to be here, you got to be there, you got to be here, you got to be here to even be competitive in that way. So there's a multitude of different things happening, and there's a multitude of different pieces moving in this equation. And you all are acting shocked that we get situations like a Pooh Shiesty. No, that's what's going to happen. The babes are talking, the babes are walking, and the babes see what people are doing. No longer is it just about it was never about what you say, but it's definitely not about what you say now. Because in reality, the elders should have been addressed a lot of this. And I'm talking about white, black, Asian, Caucasian, purple, Latino, whatever. People have been letting this society at large, our communities at large, become and devolve into debauchery under the basis of do as thou wilt, under get the bag by any means. It is what it is. Play the game until the game is playing you, until the game is playing your kid. I don't, like I told y'all last time, but it's you, I ain't trying to really hear because this is what y'all want. You can't say play it and then get mad how they play it. Look, we see y'all want to go to the island. We see what our nation do to other nations. We see what corporations do to people. The streets is just an additional manifestation of corporate. It just aesthetically looks different. Where you have soft violence, soft despotism in corporate, in the streets is just guttural because there is no pretense. But let me know what y'all think because maybe I'm off, maybe I'm stretching it. I know a lot of people are going to say none of those things correlate, and I would argue every single day that from where Jay-Z sat, from what all of those different people in that time have perpetuated, propagated, and gave the youth, and basically left us to our own devices and continue to say, work harder. You got to get it how you get it. And status being the centerpiece of life when you have been in this world where there is no value to the human parts and aspects of a person anymore. Everything is highly transactional. So the bag is that much more amplified if you've never lived in a world other than that. What do y'all think that y'all gonna get? What do we think that we gonna continue to see? It's gonna be more of that. But I ain't going to, get redundant and hold y'all up. Y'all go ahead, do your thing. Let me go ahead, head out. But hit the like button, hit the share button if you've made it to the end of this, and let me know what y'all think, man.